Uranium friends, you look as I look. I have not really been spent much time on the charts or markets lately, but so let's take a look at the ETFs first. So URA, if you remember, I did maybe a video maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever, and I was talking about this, possibility of an inverse head and shoulders. Well, Friday, but just blew everything out. This is the weekly, by the way, so it still is a straight up run. So yes, I am still looking for a weekly high or low of some sort, and however it plays out, right? So this is still just it's this, right? So it's just one big straight up run, no pivot yet. I'm going to be looking for some sort of pivot, weekly high or low, and it may end up somewhere in this area where this 12 EMA is. We'll see. I mean, this is one hell of a lockout rally, and it's truly a lockout rally. For anyone that was, if you're working this daily chart, I mean, where's the pivot? And look at the insane amount of volume here. Now, some will say this is a volume climax. Runs like this can look like this with a little volume climaxy type of thing. So, have to see what the um, attempt at gap fill looks like going forward. But this is really, I mean, very little pivots, and that's why these are called lockout rallies, right? So everybody's sitting there waiting to grab the daily high or low, and it never comes. Literally never comes. But it's a great daily 12 EMA rider, so it's changed the dynamic in a very short term, right? So these moving averages got stretched out. They came in to kind of reconcile. One would think that they'll probably at some point start getting sideways and build up some fuel for the next leg up. Hopefully, I have no idea, but that's the way it looks. So URNM laggard, URA is far outpacing um, the other ETFs, and I contended this for a long time. That's where the institutional money is going to want to be. It's a much better option chain, much better liquidity, has some safer names in it that can kind of smooth out the action in there. So when I look at URA and I see it get money, and I see it get moves like that, I look at larger players that are the ones here. So this has got a good pivot here. So for me, we have this level. It's a good level, right? So if you're going to play this ETF, I mean, it's URNM, so it usually probably will try to flush everybody out of this stop loss area here. Maybe dip down into here. Who knows? Who knows what happens? The broad market will dictate a lot of things. So, but on the weekly, it's the same deal. I mean, we have some pretty straight up, but if you're looking laggard wise in the ETF plays, this is probably going to be better. This is not performing as well as URA is at the moment. So does it catch up, and does URA kind of slow down a little bit, and we'll see. It's coming into structure here, so we'll see how it plays out there. URNJ, what do we got going on here? So URNJ is right smack in this value area that is printed since its birth, basically, right? So there's some pretty heavy duty action here. One could contend there's also a structure here, but it's inside this structure now. This is what it's working through. It's just working its way out. So it's a good look for that. It still has the looming 200-day moving average overhead. I always consider URNJ a little bit of a laggard to the other stuff. So again, the two Sprott ETFs, they seem laggard-ish to me. So we'll have to see where it goes from there with those. And nukes, the new kid on the block. What's it look like here? Yeah, I mean, nukes is coming into its all-time high, right? So it's going to be testing all-time highs any day now with nukes. So it's got some lower float, lower liquidity. We know the names that are in here are different than the miners themselves. It's got Lightbridge, OKLO, things like that, LEU, Centrus. So again, no weekly pivots. So I'm going to be looking for a weekly pivot, and I would assume this 44 area should have some sort of bearing on the bounce area. That would be my guess. I would probably end up being a buyer somewhere around there. in this ETF. That's probably the spot I would think logically would hold. If it doesn't, I kind of know that I might be wrong if 41 breaks down. That's the ETFs. I'm going to try to move fast here. I'm only going to do big boards right now for this video because I've already spent a lot of time. So CCJ coming up after its all-time highs. Yeah, it's going to be testing all-time highs. So, CCJ is going to be on the blue sky breakout watch list. I would have it on there. Would it surprise to get a back test here? Nope, wouldn't. And I'd be a buyer. Uh, light on CCJ because, again, lockout rally. And I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to the markets. That's part of it, too. But, down here, I got Microsoft and I got Tesla and whatnot. So I got Lowe's and other names. Regardless of that, CCJ, it's got to be on all-time high watch list. It could come as soon as this trading week. If everything stays strong, CCJ is going to take out its all-time highs. I would think. I also would not be surprised if it comes to try to backfill this gap first before it goes, right? So CCJ is looking fantastic, testing all-time highs. Plain and simple. Someone's telling you not to buy CCJ or short it or not have it in your portfolio. Well, you listen to the wrong people. Dennison working through this lifelong value area, and I've said this in multiple videos. I'm not going crazy with it. $1.42 is a big spot for me for the life of this stock. Just to show. All right, this is just the spot, right? So, in this area, give or take 5% is where it's seemingly the market has been valuing Dennison, right? $1.42 to $1.50. Really, the number for me is $1.35 to $1.50. So it's through that this piece's resistance here, right? So it's got to contend with the 200-day moving average, has to contend with some structure up here in the $1.80 to $2 range. But you follow the space long enough, just Dennison catches its bid randomly sometimes and leads for a little while. So eventually it'll probably do it. Encore Energy, well, look at that. So the Encore Energy is, wow, it's back into its little drop zone here on all that FUD that was going on. So take note, just with all of these names, take note of the massive amount of volume that occurred on Friday. There's a lot of volume there. Let's just see if any of these majors got any volume kicks. Nah, not really, right? These Australian things are just like, who cares, right? Good companies are not fundamentally. The charts are just like, bah. So anyway, it's through. It could run. I could easily see 245 on this thing somewhere up here, because this just created no structure on the way down. So there's really, uh, this is all just stops getting triggered and just ripping down. So probably not a lot in the way back up until you start coming into this area. That's why I could easily see that 245 number, that 240 area get hit. Regardless of that, we're starting to get these moving averages to act as support, which is fantastic. I want to see what the weekly looks like here. Yeah, and it's through the weekly 12 EMA on nothing special volume wise. Okay, nothing special, kind of average volume for the name, which is fine. All right, but it is price is pushing through some resistance, and there's a lack of resistance in this area. So Encore could get a little bit more of a push if things stay positive, right? So Centrus, and I missed this one. I wanted to get it down here, and I just didn't do it. Things were not. Again, I wasn't paying attention to the market, but Centrus testing some big spots here. So, it gets through this 120, 125 area, and it's interesting, right? So, obviously, this is no question. You got your weekly head and shoulders look. I guess if people just don't know what I'm talking about, like bang, bang, left shoulder, head, right shoulder formation going on here. Um, but plenty to say, hey, it's just a triple top, right? I mean, for $120 stock, when you're $2 or $3, not a big deal. So top watch for Centris. I mean, it could, if it breaks out of this, it's interesting to see what would happen. It's not a lot of resistance up above here. So the sellers have been hitting it for a year now, a little less than a year, up in this range. So we'll see how that plays out. LTBR, I made a video a while back on LTBR, and I've said that technically from a chartist standpoint, the name has changed. There's a dynamic change with this name, and I probably might be able to see it on a quarterly chart. So forget about the price action. Look at the volume, right? So the volume is telling a story here. There's more interest. There's probably more trading, obviously, but it's when you see volume increases like that from a name that has had basically nothing for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. It's worth paying attention. This is just a huge, huge monthly base um, that the name has been sitting through forever, right? So look at this monthly base. Um, it's been basing for like 6 years. So even more, sorry, 6, 7, 8, around there, right? Basing. So it's just starting to try to push its way out, and the volume is saying, yeah, it might be time, right? It's gotten over this long-standing value area. Lightbridge, there's definitely a change with this name, and like I positioned up a little bit in Lightbridge when OKLO made its move last week. The correlations have been there. I've spoken about it many, 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 many times. It's still kind of there, and the beautiful thing is that Lightbridge is a bit of a laggard. Usually, correlations come and go, so you can't rely on that solely. But um, I made that play here, and it worked. Yay for me. Nano, little nuclear power plant builder. Um, Golden pocket retracement here. 61% retracement zone where notoriously things will bounce or get rejected. Coming in hot, tons of volume, pretty good. There was a lot of call. There was a couple of call strikes. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there was a gamma squeeze here in a sense. Um, there was some pretty decent sized call buying. I forget what the strikes were. I think they were $30 strikes or 32s or whatever they were. But they're for a little bit of a distance out, but I'm sure that was part of the thing. Um, Next gen, well, still a good move, right? Daily uptrend is just confirmed and following through. Straight up on the weekly, probably need a pivot at some point, but notable volume, not overly notable volume. Much more notable volume in other names. I think the market doesn't necessarily fully believe that next gen is going to get this mine going anytime soon. And whatever, lifestyle CEOs supposedly, but 200-day is the rejection point right now. No matter what, any equity that's doing stuff like this, it tells you it's going to dance around the 200-day moving average for a while before it figures out what it wants to do, right? So it's done that. It danced around this moving average, the 200-day moving average danced around it for, basically a year and a half before it just decided to make its big run. It's not uncommon for equities to do that in any space. Commodities love to trend. When they catch the trend, they trend. So let's just see if this is a trend reversal here. Want it to look something like this right here, right? See this weekly move? See this weekly move? Come on back down, test some stuff, make a higher low, and go. So OKLO, trader's favorite. It's thinly traded sometimes. The option chain is pretty good. It's going to make its moves. I don't care what anybody says fundamentally about this stock. It's one that you can make money in. So people should be paying attention to it. long and short side, by the way. Good volatility. But again, testing, this is it's on all-time high candidate list at this point, right? So OKLO is close enough to its all-time highs that it may make a new one and go blue sky. So it pays to pay attention to OKLO, SMR. Same deal, right? So this is even almost closer to a blue sky breakout than OKLO. So we've got our little baby nuclear power plant builders. They're leading the charge, as they've been doing for a while, because guess what? Big board names, no mining risk stuff whatsoever, good option chains, institutional money can go there. It's the formula, and there's a nuclear renaissance, and it's a great way to play the nuclear renaissance. So, regardless of whether fundamentally these guys are going to get any plants built ever, uh, the market likes to play on the option chains and have the liquidity. So, pays to pay attention. UEC weekly still straight up move again. I'm sure this is a confirmed daily up. Yeah, this is a great daily uptrend. Look at the huge standout volume, right? So when you get stuff like that, this is probably historical. When you get stuff like that, you can look to other examples and see what happens. There was probably a time when we were looking at this standout volume and said, all right, well, this is a big signal. Well, what happened? It made new lows. So just be aware of that. But it is always good to look at literally, let me just make sure I'm right. Yep, literally insane amount of high historical volume this week than we've ever seen in the name trading since 2007, 2006. That does tell you something, right? Um, Still got to look for some sort of weekly higher low, but it looks great. Looks great. URG, the dog of dogs. Nothing special about the volume. I've always said it, and I'll say it multiple times. URG is great as a laggard play when the whole sector's moving. It's a great laggard, so that's what I would keep it on my watch as, because it really has done nothing special chart wise. So it's very, very different. Uranium royalty, not much to say here. It's doing UROY things, but it's always good to see any of them on all names get above these longer term moving averages, because it's good for the sector. But there's no chart change here whatsoever. It's still just in a monthly. I bet you it's in a quarterly downtrend. It is. It's in a quarterly, monthly. Right, let me make sure. Monthly downtrend, weekly downtrend. Yes. Um, Yeah, but it's broken it, so that's a good sign. So the weekly is trying to say, all right, we'll finally change this chart as well. So keep an eye on it. Again, for me, I don't really play UROY at all. The option chain kind of sucks. The liquidity of the stock sucks. Not a fan. Um, but that doesn't mean it can't make money for you. If the sector is the sector is the sector. So the 4Us have made their way back up out of this lower box. Uh, I'm probably going to have to make some adjustments on my boxes at this point, because this is a pretty deep undercut. And I would say it's probably, yeah, it did tag structure. Hold on, I got to go back to the daily. It did tag structure over here. So there is structure here. So now it becomes a bit of a spot that I have to pay a little bit more attention to and maybe mark up my chart a little bit different. But this is you look as I look. I'm just trying to go fast. But um, getting above the 200-day moving average, but we know this stock is very volatile, and we know that equities will do a 200-day moving average dance for quite some time until they change their trend, right? So this could be the flip, but this is really just, if you look at it from this perspective, it's almost very normal trading for the name. So as painful as it is, that's what it is. All right. So yeah, probably a long video. I don't even know how long it went. Almost 20 minutes. So that was a quickie view. Um, See what the week brings. If we get follow through here, it's game on for the sector for at least the time being. Let's see what this is doing. Yeah, getting through this trend line. right? Through it, a little bit of a it got tested. Let's see if it back tests that line a little bit. But this is a pretty decently solid line. I might have drawn it on the weekly, yeah. So it's a peekaboo, which is good. The one thing I don't, I mean, everybody's excited about the price of actual uranium futures. This is nothing. It's doing nothing on this chart. It's an extremely bearish look still. There's nothing positive about this at all, other than the fact that it finally stopped bleeding. And now at least the monthly stair step of a lower low and a lower high for the past year and a half, almost a year and a half, is finally breaking. But it doesn't mean anything for the chart, in all honesty, right? It's going to have to get through this sticky little area up here in the 75 to 78 range, and then we can start to talk about maybe things are different. But the stair step pattern that has been driving the entire sector down has broken. And it's showing signs of reversal. We will see. This isn't much. There's not much of a change in this chart yet, but there are some positive signs there. So, devil over and out.